So I've been looking for some options to transport all of my Marvel Crisis Protocol minis when I'm kind of going out to games, to the games club, to events, that kind of thing. And I do have some kind of battle foam sort of bags and things, but I'm finding as some of the models are getting bigger, things like Hulkbuster, things like Miss Marvel, as they're getting a little bit more fragile, maybe with kind of sort of bits of chains hanging off, like Ghost Rider, or maybe the kind of the weapon from Daredevil. They're not the easiest things to kind of put down into like a foam tray. Now I know a lot of people like sort of to magnetize their minis and put them into like a sort of metal tray or into like magnetic strip or something, but I'm not a fan of magnets on the bottoms of minis. So I've been looking for a solution, and I saw this picture on Twitter from Ben Bailey. So I've kind of sort of developed his idea, what I saw here. I'll link down in the description to the original Twitter post and there what he showed. But what I've done is I've come up with this solution, and what I've got here, as he kind of holds up to the camera, I've got one of these really useful boxes, and I've got some bungee cords. And I'm going to show you how to do this step by step. But what I've got in here is basically I've got a couple of boxes that I've 3D printed, which have got all of my cards in. It's got all of my dice and all of my tokens in. It's got more than enough minis to kind of be playing. If you're playing an event, you're probably going to need about 10 kind of models or something like that. I think I've just roughly put about, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's about 16 minis in there. I've intentionally put ones with big bases in just to show some with small bases, but they're all in there. They're not, let me just hold the handles there so they're not clinking about. Apologies for the dice rattling. They're not going to go anywhere. I can safely hold them upside down. Nothing's coming out. Oops. So this basically is all I need to take to games night now. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Thank you to Ben Bailey for giving me the idea. I've kind of developed it a little bit, as I said. Added a few bits in that I think kind of just sort of suit my needs. But I'll show you how to do it now. To start with, you're going to need a really useful box. These come in multiple different sizes. I'm using a 9 litre one for the extra height of some of the models. However, you can use a 4 litre one as shown here if you just have smaller minis. You'll also need some anti-slip matting, some double-sided tape, a length of elastic cord, and some toggles to help tie them off. There's a list of materials and tools in the video description with links to the ones that I've used. First up, I'd recommend laying out the contents of what you intend to store in your box. This one for me is for my Marvel Crisis Protocol minis and equipment, so I've got things like a storage box which contains all of my character cards and Crisis and Tactics cards, and I also have my tokens and dice in another container. That leaves me with an area in the middle where I'll be storing the miniatures I need to take with me. The next step is to mark up on the sides of the box where these items will be mounted. Hold the item to the side of the storage box and mark where you want the cords to come through to hold it in place. Remember to mark them slightly closer to the edge of the container so that the elastic pulls tight across the item and holds it firmly in place. Do this on both sides of the storage box and again at the other end with any other items that you want to secure. Next, I take a drill and a 4.5mm drill bit and drill the holes where I've marked on the storage box. I'm using a 4.5mm drill bit as the elastic cord that I've bought is 4mm diameter, so you may need to adjust the sizes to suit your own materials. Now we need to mark where the holes will go along the bottom of the storage box, which will be where the elastic cord will feed across the base and hold down the miniatures in place. So what I do is I place the card storage back inside just to see where it comes to, and then leave a bit of space so that the miniatures aren't rubbing up against it inside. Handily, the hex pattern on the bottom gives me a good marker of where I want to start. Now spacing wise, I need to take into consideration that the Marvel minis come on 3 different size bases, so they need to work across all different types. For the bigger bases, I can look at things like the position of the minis' feet to see how much space I have to work with, and for the smaller ones, I need to make sure that the distance is close enough between the cords to hold them down securely. I decided that a 1-inch gap across the cord spacing would be enough to hold everything in place. It may be different for you if you're using 25mm bases, for example, so measure what works for you. Now you can use a tape measure to mark out the spacing, however I had a cutting mat with 1-inch grid markings which was perfect for lining up the holes on both sides of the box. I lined up the box with the mat and marked the places on each side of the storage box where the holes will go. Once that's done, drill out the holes. You want these to be as low to the base of the storage box without drilling through the bottom. Do this across both sides of the box. The next step is to take the anti-slip mat and cut it to the size to fit your storage box. I've made mine long enough to come up the sides at each end where the card and token storage will go for some extra security too. I haven't trimmed it perfectly to length yet, as I'll trim it once it's stuck in place with the double-sided tape. And then run the double-sided tape along the top and bottom of the side pieces and then in the ends of the base. Once you've done that, peel off the backing from the first strip and start to secure your anti-slip mat in place, working your way along the storage box and trimming the mat to fit at the end. Now we're going to take the elastic cord and feed it through the holes. I've found it goes in better if you cut the end to a bit of a sloped angle. Feed it through and loop it back so you have both ends on one side of the storage box. Now take one of the spring grip toggles and feed the cord through. Once you've pulled it tight, tie the two ends together in a tight knot to stop it slipping through in the future. Then just do the same at the other end too. Lastly, we then feed the elastic back and forth through the bottom holes. Once it's through, tie a knot in one end to secure it and ensure it can't be pulled back through. Then pull on the elastic and tension up the cord so that it's tight across the base. Feed the end through another spring-loaded toggle and tie a knot on the end. Now you're ready to load it up, put your minis in place, and you're ready to head off and play some games. So that's it, folks. That's how I did it. I'm sure there's some better options. I'm sure as people see this idea, they'll come up with and kind of develop it further. It works for anything. You can change the spacing between the cord and the bottom if you're doing things like Kings of War. You know, if you've got those kind of sort of big sort of troop bases that you want. I know they're always a bit of a pain in the backside to carry. You can obviously do different size really useful boxes. There's a number of things you can do. I'll link down in the description below all of the materials that I've used, if I haven't already mentioned that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.